be pretty boring today, so not a whole lot going on.
Trajan, when you came in last year, it was sort of a mad dash to get a staff in place, coaching staff in place, draft, free agency, and then this year it's obviously kind of been the opposite, quiet. Have you been able to take advantage of the peace and quiet? Like, is there any unfinished business from last summer, or I guess how have you kind of used the last month or so?
Yeah, I think it's since we played some playoff basketball, it went a little bit later. But ever since then, it's just been prepping for draft, trying to understand what we want to do in free agency. And yeah, there's always some staff stuff going on. And as fast as everything came together last year, still a lot of people from previous regime, current regime coming together. So it's continued to set a environmental and a cultural foundation, spending time with staff, spending time with players, getting people under contract, that contracts were coming up. We thought that was very important to do that ahead of time. So that's a lot of the things that we've been doing since the season's ended.
Trajan, when you spoke to us after the season, you said that the success of the team might have altered the plan, it might have accelerated where you guys are.
Yeah.
Now with the unfortunate injuries in the conference, a lot of people think the East is wide open. Has that even changed or maybe escalated some of the things you might do in the next few weeks?
I think it's definitely provoked some thought internally in terms of what we can do to get better. I think it hasn't changed the roadmap for us. I don't think we're in a place to push all of our chips in and be locked into a place who still want to keep that optionality. I think our guys have been in the gym working a lot. They want to get better. So I think we will see growth from our young players from this year to next year. And I think that's ultimately what's really important for us, because if those guys get better, we'll ultimately get better. And there'll be a time. But again, we're continuing to keep our ear to the ground and see if there's opportunities to get better without pushing all of our chips in, proverbially. Excuse me.
Trajan, what's the skill set you look for at pick 37?
Ooh, best player. Yeah, I mean, we have our qualities that we're looking for. Obviously, high character, hardworking, and competitive. Size for position is important, I think, is throughout the league. But as we've kind of looked at that pick, there's a lot of wings that are intriguing. There's some bigs that are intriguing, and there's some guards that can shoot the ball that are intriguing as well. So we're trying to figure out who's going to be there, but I think we'll find a player that we like at that number.
Trajan, last year, you said it was kind of tough getting players to come in and try to work out for you guys, or talk to their people that they're working with and stuff. Now that you guys have a strong foundation, a strong culture, how have you kind of seen that shift when you compare it to last year?
Well, at 37, it's just a different level of talent and of prospect that you're going to get in from 5 last year. But I think we've been able to get in the guys that we've wanted. It's always a game that you play with the agents. A lot of guys that you think might be in your range, they think are going to be higher. And usually you don't get those players in. But I think our agents have been great with us this year in terms of getting players in that we feel will be in our range. We've been able to talk to them and see them work out, except for a couple that have been injured. But other than that, we've got a lot of players in and have had a good amount of workouts for 37 this year, so we're pleased.
How has NIL changed that prospect pool that's there, late first, early second?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's really changed it this year. We had a couple guys in early that went back to school that I think were probably 25 to 45, and there's a couple others that were even higher on draft boards. So you take four to six guys out at a range like ours, it can affect the draft that maybe it falls off talent-wise 32, 33, that would have fallen off 38, 39. So it can change the level of prospect that'll be there at pick 37, and that's kind of what we're seeing. But again, I do think we'll find a player that we like if we're still at 37.
Does it make teams maybe more inclined, though, to try to get up into the end of the first there?
I do think teams will be active getting up. I do think that means that the price of those picks could go up too.
Just housekeeping, is Jaden and Stu full go now? I mean, how have those guys come along since?
I wouldn't say they're a full go, but they're coming along. Yeah, they're coming along. They'll be ready for camp. So
And Trajan, what are your benchmarks for success as it relates to the draft and free agency this offseason?
I think for us is continue to get better and continue to have optionality. As I said, we'll keep our ear to the ground on ways that we can improve. But improvement for us is more internal. I think if we can keep some of the guys that we had as part of this run, some of the vets, that would be great. We know they're going to get interest from other teams as well. So as we look to keep them, we'll also have to have backup options as well if they choose to go somewhere else for a deal that we can't match, or a deal that we can't get to. So we'd like to get those guys back, but we'll be prepared to have to go another direction if need
With
be.
the finals over, I believe you can talk to your own free agents
Correct.
now. Has any of that taken place yet, or do you have any inkling of which way the wind might be blowing on that?
Agents are tough, so we know we have stated that we are interested, and they're interested in us. But again, I think agents have to do their job for their players, survey the market, see what's there, and hopefully we can come to a resolution in bringing those guys back. But again, we have to do our due diligence as well in case that they choose another destination.
With the conclusion of NBA playoffs, what did you learn from watching it, and from the scouting process? Have you seen someone at pick 37 that can be able to help play in those high-stress minutes that the playoffs offers?
Yeah, I thought the playoffs were a lot of fun. I think us being in the first round gave our guys incredible experience and a great feel for what it actually entails to compete at that level and against a really good Knicks team that we got a chance to play 6 games against. And then watching the finals and the lead up to the finals, I thought it was some spectacular basketball on both sides. I think it shows that you need depth. Depth is important in this style of play. The game's getting faster, it's getting bigger. There's so many players on the court that have skill. So those are the things that were apparent, but the whole league is seeing that. And I think we have some players that fit that on our roster right now. And I think they showed that in the first round of the series against the Knicks. So continuing to improve and develop our young players, I think, is going to be paramount for us going forward, and continuing to add pieces around that fit and can enhance their development.
Trajan, I think Stu was listed out with right knee inflammation in the playoffs. Is there anything more you can share about the injury, if there's an update from right knee inflammation? Or
Say it again.
He was listed as out with right knee inflammation in the playoffs. Is that still the status, or is there more you can share about his knee injury?
I would say he'll be ready for camp.
To piggyback on Keith's earlier question, obviously you guys have future financial commitments to consider this all season. What has been Tom's kind of feedback when you guys are talking about future financial commitments going forward as you try to move this program forward?
Yeah, good question. I think when I've talked to Tom about the future, I think we've kind of stayed right now, and he knows what's coming. But I think right now let's focus on what's coming for this summer and next year, and we haven't really looked upon any huge financial commitments out of what's already on the books or that we see could be coming with retaining our own free agents. Again, we're not going to be super aggressive this summer. I don't foresee any of that. And again, it's just developing from within and hoping and keeping a couple vet pieces that we had on the roster this past year. And if we can add around the margins to get better, we will, but I don't think it's anything that's going to be super aggressive or crazy. And I think we're on the same page with that line of thinking.
Trajan, did you ever find yourself thinking during that Knicks series how things might have gone had you had Ivy and Stu healthy, and does getting those guys back inform what you will or won't do this summer?
I don't think it we do this summer. We know these guys are going to be back. They'll be healthy. They'll be 100%, going into September and going into camp. So I think that's exciting. I don't think it will inform us on what we're going to do this summer. But just having, the peace of mind to know those guys will be back and the rotations could be different, will be deeper, and we'll be more experienced with that second half push and the playoff run that we had, playoff experience, I should say, that we had. So I think, JB and I look forward to that and seeing what that looks like, and then and understanding what our team is at that point.
Did
You get
those
the
thoughts,
sense-
though, ever cross your mind during that series that, man, if we could have these two guys?
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, especially with Stu. You know, in January the JI is going to be out, but with Stu, you just think that enforcer in the second unit around the rim could have really helped us. But we are also fortunate that we had Paul. I think if we would have had a guy not as talented as Paul, he wouldn't have coming off the bench. He wouldn't have held water. Another player wouldn't have held water like Paul did for us at that time. So.
The Orlando trade for them to get Bean, I'm sure that caught everyone's attention in the East. Did you get the sense that with the Tatum injury and then since that happened, the Halliburton injury, now that maybe your peers around the conference are a little more open to pushing some chips in than they would have been had those things not happened?
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, we definitely are doing our due diligence and thinking about different opportunities, but we also don't want it to impact us going forward either. I think I thought it was a great move by Orlando to get Bain. I think he is going to help them out. They're going to be a really good team. We'll look for those opportunities, and again, if it's a player coming back that adds value and it's not too expensive and it doesn't hamper our ability to have optionality going forward or hamper the development internally of our players, we'll look to do it.
Trajan, you come from different franchises with your history. Have you spoken to any of the people that you kind of learned from coming up in the front office, or most of your conversations is kind of internal with the franchise?
In what regard?
Like in terms of just how to deal with management situations, what they have to deal with in terms of building rosters, just kind of the steps that it takes to be early in your progression and stuff.
Yeah, I was very fortunate in terms of starting out with the Spurs and understanding progress and process and seeing how they put together championship teams and maintained a championship culture and environment while winning at the same time and keeping a core of three together and fitting pieces around them and bringing in a young Kawhi Leonard. So getting those stories and seeing the years of what they did there in a small market and how successful they were. And then going to Cleveland, Brooklyn with that build, and then New Orleans. I've learned a ton, but you definitely can't go back to the guys that are still in those environments, ask what would you do and what are you doing. Those places are only going to give me so much. Although they love me to death, they're not going to help me at all right now.
Trajan, since we talked to you, Cade was named third team All-NBA, and I guess you know him, but he could be coming in compared to what he's done this past season. Just what are some of the aspects that haven't impressed you most, and I guess what kind of confidence does that give you in the rebuild going forward, knowing you have a guy like Cade?
Yeah, a ton of confidence going forward that you have a guy that can lead you. And look, he's hungry this summer. I think that's the biggest thing is he wants to take the next step and understand what that is in terms of adding things to his game, getting stronger, getting in better shape. Those are the things that he wants to do coming into next season. And I think the big thing for us at the end of last year was knowing that, okay, these guys got a taste of it. And that's what always happens to competitors. If you get a taste of high-level competition and then you fail, you want it again. You want to take the next step. And I think that's what we've seen from not only Cade but the rest of our team. But knowing that you have that guy and not only a big-time player but a big-time leader of this group that's highly respected by his peers and the coaching staff, I think is a lot to look forward to going forward. And yeah, I think amazing that he made All-NBA, although it hurts us from a roster building standpoint. It's obviously a huge plus to have a player of that caliber.
Trajan, you mentioned obviously building internally and probably not anything big this summer. That puts a lot of pressure, it sounds like, on Jaden Ivy. Is there a little bit of an unknown in your mind about what he'll be, or are you completely confident he'll be what you need him to be?
Yeah, I've never thought that it puts pressure on J.I. coming back. I think, I think a player coming back off an injury, there's always concern and thoughts in his head. And so we're going to try to put him in the best possible place to be successful coming off that injury. I've played 2 different seasons after injuries, and it's difficult mentally and emotionally to understand. He's going to want to get back to where he was pre-injury, playing a high level of basketball. So we feel it's our responsibility to put him in a place where he can, get there as quickly as possible. He's been in here working his butt off all summer. He's in a really good place, but I wouldn't say that it puts any pressure on him more than the pressure that he's putting on himself.
Trajan, in terms of Asar and this kind of being his first real offseason since he didn't really get to last offseason, where are you looking to see him grow the most, and how do you think he can possibly raise the ceiling of this team?
AT's been working his butt off too. He's been here, he's been back home, he's been in the gym. The thing that he wants to do at some point is be Defensive Player of the Year. So working on his strength that he didn't get to do last year, getting in better shape, working on his different abilities to get shots, to create shots, putting him in pick and roll. But I think ATA's got an ability in different places on the floor to be able to just create a shot. So that's what we're really trying to work with him on this summer, the ball handling, the shot creation, and then just getting stronger. Is one thing that he couldn't do all last summer because of the restrictions. So having him in the weight room, movement efficiency, so when he is getting in those situations, he can be a little bit more on balance in terms of getting a shot or finishing at the rim. But he's excited. We're excited for him to have an entire summer to develop, not only on the floor but also in the weight room.
Along those same lines, what can you share about the early workout projections that you've seen from Ron Holland as a rookie?
Yeah, he's getting better. I'm excited for him for this summer league. You know, we're really focusing on this summer league being about he and Bobby, giving them the opportunities to really show what they can do on both ends of the floor and lead the summer league team and be competitive around it. But those are two guys that have versatility on both ends of the floor to handle, to score it. Both been working on their shot and shot creation as well, along with getting stronger, which is very, very important for two guys that are young in this league. So they'll have that opportunity in summer league, and we're excited about it.
Trajan, you have built a Pistons way, if you will, right? There's a belief in this town for a long time that this is not a destination site for free agents. How important has it been for you to establish, a culture the way you have in order to eventually attract free agents to the franchise?
I think it's been the most important thing that JB and I have focused on since hiring him, and continuing to talk about the quality of character of person or player that we bring in here in these doors. It doesn't matter the position, player, coach, front office executive, somebody on our performance team. It's very important that person's of high character, competitive, and with the Pistons first mindset. So we keep that in the back of our minds all the time when looking at people or players to bring in the building. So I think it was a big piece of our success this year. It led to an environment of our players coming in every day, having joy and having each other's back, and just enjoying the process of not only competing but getting better every day. So we want to continue to enhance that and better that. And so any person or any player that comes in the building feels that and knows that they can reach their potential here as a Piston.
With Ivy and Duren, obviously, restricted free agency, we'll have to see how that goes. But I guess what's the maybe line you have to figure out there as far as valuing a guy property, and guys still have growth in front of them. I guess what's the approach with those conversations, and how have they gone so far?
So don't jump the gun. They're not restricted free agents for another year. So I think it's, when that time comes, which is later in the summer, we'll have those conversations with the agents. But, in terms of valuing our players and contract stuff, I'm never going to talk about it. That's going to be between us and the agent. But those are guys that we value, that we talk about. So hopefully we can, have some really good conversations if it comes to that. And if not, they'll play their years out here, and then we'll see what happens going forward.